Such a friendly gesture now. Just keep me out of the freezer and don't give me the cold shoulder, 'cause I am just a fragile can. Whoa. And you could crush me, crush me, crush me with your hand. So just tap me with your finger and I'll understand. So just tap me with your finger, I won't overflow again. I'm not who you think I am. Whoa. They call me soda pop can man. Don't do well with pressure. It's such a friendly gesture now. Just get me out of the freezer and don't give me the cold shoulder, 'cause I am just a fragile man. I'm a castle made of sand. Here comes the tide again to wash me out to sea again. Such a friendly gesture now. Just keep me out of the freezer and don't give me the cold shoulder, 'cause I am just a fragile can. Whoa. And you could crush me, crush me, crush me with your hand. So just tap me with your finger and I'll understand.
I haven't lured anybody in to come into this yet. I did it kind of on the spot. I'm working on Warren McGrew, some scholars I know. Jonathan Pritchett is sick. Kevin Thompson, I don't know, he's busy maybe. I'm not sure. Joshua is at work. So we'll see if anybody pops in. I invited some other guys too. I want to talk about Daniel. Yeah. Warren McGrew is apparently getting all beef hot dogs and pizza from Costco and probably a new computer. Let me say something to him here. Oh, I can't while I'm doing this. Oh, maybe I can. No worries, bro. No worries. Get me an all beef hot dog and a soda for $1.50 or whatever and send it to me. Thank you. Well, we'll see if anybody joins. I haven't been very popular lately. People like to ignore me because I trouble their theology a little bit. Let's see. I wanted to talk about Daniel. Let me pull up my notes. I'm I think Mark Stoney might come in, hopefully. Let's see what we got here. Maybe grab my... Yeah, here. I'm going to talk about why Adventists hold the position they do regarding Daniel. So let me jump into that. This will be a general. Let's see where should I start. I'm going to go with why Antiochus Epiphanes is not the ultimate figure in Daniel 8. So give some of my denominational commitment positions here. Okay, yeah, Kevin can't come. That's cool. All right. I have an Adventist scholar that I'm trying to coax into coming. I don't think he's received the messages though, but tell him I'll be in the stream talking about Darcom and Daniel 8. He wrote a paper recently. Maybe he'll come in. Let's see. I'll leave it at that. Okay. Oopsie. Okay. Let's see. No, don't do that. All right. I think I'll just put it on the screen. I don't know if that's like a problem. Warren's going to get me a pizza and a hot dog, so that's good. I'll pull this up. I'll just read it from the screen. Hopefully this isn't a copyright problem. If you haven't listened to some of my introduction to Hans K. Laurendale's interpretation of, or proper principles of interpretation, Israel of God, I have the first 4 chapters and introduction on my channel, and it's very educational, even if you don't have the same position. It talks about interpretive method and dispensationalism, etc. So I guess we'll start with this. The vision described in Daniel 8 may be outlined briefly as follows. The Persian ram appeared in the vision first, Daniel 8, conquering to the north, west, and south. The Grecian goat with its principal horn came on the scene of action next. This is Daniel 8, kind of a zooming in of Daniel 7, or you could argue. It doesn't start, though, in the same period as Daniel 7. It starts in the Second Kingdom. By defeating the Persian ram, Medo-Persia perhaps, it became the dominant power in view. After reaching this position, however, the principal horn of the goat was broken, and 4 horns extending out to the 4 winds of heaven came up in its place. Commentators concur that the contents of the vision thus far are relatively straightforward, since these 4 horns can be identified readily with the 4 kings and the 4 kingdoms derivative from them, who divided the empire conquered by Alexander. The interpretation of the next main element in the vision, after verse 8, is more controversial. Another horn, a little horn, which came either from one of the 4 winds or from one of the 4 horns, appeared on the scene. The attack which this horn launched was not directed so much against other beasts or kingdoms as against God's people, identified here as the host of the stars, verses 10 and 24. That is, and it waxed great, even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground and stamped on them. And this power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, and he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. It was also directed against God's work of redemption in the form of the daily, the Tamid, and the temple, and against God's principal representative, the prince of the host, the prince of princes. He magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily was taken away. Sacrifice is not in the original Hebrew. The verb is turned into a definite article noun, if I recall, which is the tamid. It's not olat tamid, which would be daily sacrifice. Sacrifice is in italics in the King James because it's not actually there in the text. The continual / daily sacrifice, which is what people assume this is referencing, I believe tamid is turned into a noun with a definite article, the only place in the Bible, if I remember correctly. I'm not a scholar. But the word sacrifice is added by the English translators, which can make it confuse the differences that is in the original text from being seen. Let's see. Somebody's dinging me. No. Okay. Oh, that's kind of small. Let me zoom in on that. Don't know how to get a hold of those people. Let's see. I should have I guess I could, this is what I should do is have Daniel next to this so you can see what's being talked about. How do we do that? I think like this. There we go. I'll have Daniel 8 on the left here. Actually, let's just scratch that. So verse 8, the male goat, this is Alexander. I'll put that as blue underline. Out of one of them came a little horn, which grew exceedingly towards the south, toward the glorious land, and grew up to the host of heaven, cast down some of the stars to the ground, and trampled them and prospered in. I would say daily, this is not in the text. By him, there's Prince of the Host there. Let's do this. And by him, the daily sacrifices were taken away. I would say okay, so the interpretation of the next main element in the vision is more controversial. Another horn, which came either from the attack, which this horn launched, was directed so much against the other beasts. Okay, I already read that. Daniel then heard, here's the Prince of Hosts or the Prince of Princes here in verse 11 and verse 25. Right there. This phrase. Daniel heard the two heavenly beings discussing what he had seen. One asked the other, "For how long is the vision concerning the Talmud?" That is the daily sacrifices added. How long will the vision be concerning the daily and the transgression of desolation, the giving of both the sanctuary and the host to be trampled underfoot? The answer given unto 2,300 days or evenings and mornings, when then the sanctuary shall be. In the King James, the "for" here is unto. The sanctuary shall be cleansed or restored. Crucial to the interpretation of verses 9 through 14 is the identification of this little horn, which was to do all these things against God and his people. In their attempt to identify the little horn, commentators have applied the methods advanced by the preterist, futurist, and historist schools of prophetic interpretation. Preterists are committed to view that the majority of the prophecies of the book of Daniel have already been fulfilled and therefore have no significance for the present day. Thus, they hold that the little horn rose from one of the divisions of Alexander's empires. They conclude that the activities of the little horn unmistakably point to Antiochus Epiphanes. Futurists generally follow this line of interpretation. Historicists, on the other hand, declare that the prophecies of Daniel portray an outline of human and ecclesiastical history and the history of struggle between good and evil down to the end of time, since a flow of history appears to be involved here, especially when this chapter is compared with the previous one. The historicist holds that the little horn represents Rome in its pagan and papal phases. Daniel 7 speaks of the little horn coming out of the fourth kingdom as well. Just as there's three main identifications for the little horn, so the three main applications have been made of the time period referred to in this passage. Preterists have proposed that the 2,300 evening mornings should be interpreted as 23 individual morning and evening sacrifices, or 1,150 days. These should be applied to events in the career of Antiochus Epiphanes in the 2nd century BC. Utilizing the day for a year principle, historicists have held that this datum refers to a period of 2,300 years, which began in the 5th century BC and ended in the 19th century AD, 1844. As a type of the work of the final Antichrist, some futurists have applied the evening mornings as literal evenings and mornings, or 2,300 days, which they claim have not even yet begun because the final manifestation of the Antichrist belongs to the future. How is this prophecy dealing with a sanctuary to be interpreted? Preterists claim it refers to the purification of the temple in Jerusalem, which was polluted by Antiochus in the 2nd century BC. Since the earthly temple was destroyed in AD 70, and this prophetic time period extends beyond this datum, historicists see it as a reference to the temple in heaven. As the principal representatives of historicists thought, Seventh-day Adventists have understood the cleansing of Daniel 8:14, which would be this part, as the principal as a reference to the heavenly antitype of the cleansing of the earthly sanctuary, which occurred in ancient Israel on the Day of Atonement. Since this is a day of judgment in Israel, the antitypical cleansing of the heavenly sanctuary has been interrupted as a time for a pre-Advent investigative judgment of God's people. This position is quite different from that of the interpreters of the futurist school. Who hold that during the final 7 years of Earth's history, a literal temple to be rebuilt in Jerusalem will be polluted by the Antichrist. It will be cleansed or restored when Christ comes and puts an end to his nefarious reign. It's a nice little review of the interpretive parts. What was this cleansing? So the preterist sees the little horn of Antiochus IV. Some of the futurists here see this also as Antiochus as a type, perhaps, 2300 days or evening mornings are literal past days, like the Maccabees. Literal days in the future. Some do take a both approach. We take this as prophetic years, as a historicist. The temple was the earthly temple in past. The futurists, even though half of them are not dispensational, claim it's earthly, which totally undermines their whole position as not affirming dispensational ideas of a separation between the church and Israel. So it makes no sense in my view. And the cleansing is the past defilement when Antiochus went into the temple, blah, 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 and future defilement for the futurists, or both. We take this to be judgment, the pre-Advent judgment. The time of judgment has come. In Revelation, we see that as this sort of thing. Doesn't really make much sense if the little horn from Daniel 7 is the Antichrist. Into the New Covenant period, which is what all the Protestants believed. Yet, when you look at how Daniel 7 and 8 overlap with Daniel 11, and then you see how Daniel 11 flows into the first part of Daniel 12, it was an original break in the text. It's the resurrection from the dead. The second coming, which Jesus is like declaring himself to be that judge, to judge the entire earth. Let's see. Well, there's a primer for it anyways. No one's watching, so I'll just end it there. It gives you a little rundown of some of the differences here for future discussion.